At a beach, a man spots two homeless teenagers sleeping beneath a lifeguard stand. He introduces himself as someone who works for a homeless youth shelter and offers to take them in. The pair initially refuse, but when he offers them breakfast, they eventually give in. The girl is especially hesitant. She explains that if she's found at a homeless shelter, her abusive stepmother will be notified. The man reassures her, claiming that the shelter operates off the grid and that the government doesn't know about it. Convinced, the two follow him into his van, but the moment they get inside, several men ambush them and force them inside the vehicle. Where they're being taken to? Stay tuned to find out. Before we begin, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. It costs free $99, it helps out the channel, and you'll have zero regrets doing it. So without further ado, on to our feature presentation. Now before we continue this recap, this message is for all the teenage boys out there. This video and recap will not be a swooning over Sydney Sweeney video. If this is what you came for, I'm going to politely ask you to click off this video. Now let's continue. Later that day, Johnny gets a call from a woman named Melania, who asks about the latest merch he's bringing in. A teenage boy and girl. She barely reacts, explaining that homeless teens might be useful for a short time, but they're not worth much in the long run. Instead, she orders Johnny to start recruiting younger, healthier victims. It's a disturbing assignment, but one she's determined to have carried out. And the story shifts to Catherine and her teenage daughter Emma, played by Sydney Sweeney. After the recent death of the family's patriarch, the two have relocated from Wisconsin to Los Angeles in hopes of starting over. While settling into their new life, Catherine drops Emma off at the mall, where she reunites with her friend Courtney. As Catherine heads out, she notices two unfamiliar men approach the girls. One of them is Johnny. Although the encounter makes her uneasy, she eventually brushes off her concerns and drives away, unaware that the dangers she senses very real. Catherine heads to work, where she noticed a missing person poster for a teenage girl named Piper, the same homeless girl we saw at the beginning of the movie. Curious, she asks her boss about it, but he doesn't seem concerned. Assuming Piper is just another runaway, he tells Catherine to take down the poster. Before she can remove it, she is approached by Anna, a caseworker with the organization Saving Innocents. Anna explains that Piper's disappearance may be more serious than it appears and encourages Catherine to volunteer with the organization. Although Catherine appreciates the offer, she politely declines, not realizing how relevant the conversation will soon become. Meanwhile, back at the mall, Emma and Courtney strike up a conversation with the two men who approached them earlier. The men introduce themselves as photographers, presenting what sounds like an exciting opportunity. In reality, it's all part of a carefully crafted lie designated to lower the girls' guard and earn their trust. Later that evening, Catherine questions Emma about the two men she saw talking at the mall. Emma keeps her answers vague, which only raises more red flags. Catherine makes it clear that she isn't trying to stop Emma from dating, she just wants to know who she's spending time with. Emma, however, sees her mother being overprotective. The conversation quickly spirals into an argument, and after Emma's backtalk, Catherine grounds her. Unfortunately, the punishment doesn't last long. Determined to see Adams anyway, Emma sneaks out of the house. Adams suggests they go to the movies, but the evening takes a different turn as the two ended up grabbing smoothies instead. Then, without warning, Emma suddenly collapsed after her drink appears to have been drugged. With her conscience, Adam carries her to the same white man we saw earlier in the film. At that moment, the movie reveals the truth. Adam was never a harmless teenager. He and Johnny have been targeting Emma and Courtney from the very beginning, carefully gaining their trust as part of a calculated kidnapping scheme. When Emma regains consciousness, she finds herself locked inside a cage alongside Courtney and several other girls who have also been abducted. Before long, they're introduced to Melania, the woman running the operation. She wastes no time explaining their grim reality. According to her, the girls will never see their families again because they're about to be sold into human trafficking. To make sure no one even thinks about escaping, Melania reveals her organization has information on each girl's home address and family. She warns them that if anyone tries to run, their loved one will pay the price. It's a terrifying psychological tactic meant to keep the victims obedient. Melania then asks which of the girls are virgins. After a few reluctantly identify themselves, she orders the men to prepare them for what she calls a shoot, making it painfully clear that the traffickers view the girls as nothing more than merchandise. Meanwhile, Catherine discovers Emma ignored her punishment and snuck out of the house. Panicked, she repeatedly calls Emma's phone but gets no response. Using the Find My feature on Emma's iPad, she is able to track the phone's last known location to the mall. When she arrives, the only thing she finds is Emma's phone tossed in a trash can. Realizing something is seriously wrong, Catherine calls 911. Unfortunately, because Emma is a teenager who recently left home after being grounded, the police initially hesitate to treat the case as an abduction. Back at the warehouse, the traffickers begin preparing the girls for a photo shoot that serves as part of the trafficking process. I don't even know if I can show what happens in this scene, because it's pretty disturbing. Courtney is the first to be brought in, but refuses to cooperate. In response, one of the traffickers brutally punches her in the stomach. The assault isn't just meant to punish Courtney, it's a deliberate show of force to intimidate the other girls into complying. With the police making little progress, Catherine reaches out to Anna as a last resort. After hearing everything that has happened, Anna asks Catherine to come into her office immediately. Catherine explains that 911 has not been much of a help, but Anna assures her that if they're going to find Emma, they're going to have to move faster than the traditional process. During the conversation, Anna reveals a frightening reality. They have roughly 48 hours before Emma is likely to be sold and moved beyond their reach. Catherine then mentions the teenage boy named Adam, and that's when Anna realized exactly what happened. She explains that Adam was using what is known as the Romeo trap, and I'm gonna let her explain it.
It's called the Romeo trap. Traffickers lure young girls by showering them with attention, telling them they love them, gaining their trust, and then the girls are never seen again.
Back at the warehouse, Milena checks in with Johnny about Adam. Since Adam is new to recruiting victims, Milena noticed he seems hesitant during the kidnappings. Johnny believes he'll come around with time, but Milena isn't interested in taking chances. She makes it clear that if Adam becomes a liability or makes a mistake, it's Johnny's responsibility to deal with the situation. Meanwhile, Catherine and Anna return to the mall, covering the area with missing persons flyers and hope someone has seen Emma. Security attempts to stop them, but Anna realizes the mall is equipped with surveillance cameras. She insists on reviewing the footage, believing it may hold the answers they are looking for. Security footage confirms their worst fears. They watch Emma leave with Adam before the pair stop for smoothies. Moments later, Emma suddenly collapsed, revealing that Adam had drugged her drink. The cameras then capture Adam leading her towards an area outside of the mall surveillance coverage where she disappears from view. From that point on, there is no visual record of where Emma was taken. Not long after reviewing the footage, Catherine unexpectedly spots Adam out in the public, casually going about his day as if nothing happened. Her first instinct is to confront him immediately, but Anna stops her, urging her to stay calm. Instead, the two quietly follow him, hoping he'll lead them to somewhere useful. Their patience pay off when Adam arrives at a nearby park. Before they could continue following him, Catherine noticed Johnny nearby approaching two young girls with the same smooth-talking routine he used before, inviting them to go to the movies. It is clear that the traffickers are already searching for their next victims. Unable to contain herself any longer, Catherine confronts Adam and demands to know where Emma is. When she threatens to call the police, Adam panics and tries to flee. Catherine catches him, and during the struggle, she realizes he needs an inhaler because he's having an asthma attack. Desperate for answers, she refuses to hand it back until he tells her what he knows. Running out of options, Adam admits that Emma is being prepared for delivery, but before he can reveal anything more, Johnny intervenes. Realizing Adam is about to expose the entire operation, Johnny shoots him. As Adam dies, he managed to utter out one final clue, the name Milena, giving Catherine and Anna their first real lead on the person behind the trafficking ring. With Milena's name finally in hand, Catherine and Anna begin searching online escort listings, believing the traffickers may have already started advertising their victims. They don't find Emma, but they do recognize Courtney in one of the listings. Realizing that it may be their only lead, Catherine volunteers to pose as a client in an attempt to rescue her. Anna is hesitant, warning that if Catherine's cover is blown, both she and Emma could be killed. Then she opens up about her own past, revealing that she was once trafficked herself. It's a powerful moment that explains why she's so committed to helping victims escape. Before Catherine leaves, Anna equips her with a decoy phone while Catherine hides her real phone on her so she could secretly gather evidence if the opportunity arises. Inside the hotel room, Catherine finds Courtney in a horrific condition. She's covered in bruises, badly beaten, and barely has enough strength to move. Catherine discreetly photographs Courtney's injuries and sends the image to Anna, who immediately forwards them to law enforcement in hopes speeding up the investigation. At the same time, Milena learns that Catherine has infiltrated the operation. She quickly contacts one of her associates at the hotel and orders the organization to shut down everything and get out of the country before the FBI closes in. Catherine helps Courtney get dressed and attempts to sneak her out the room, but the escape doesn't last long. The traffickers almost catches on immediately, overpower Catherine and knocking her unconscious before she can get Courtney to safety. When Catherine regains consciousness, she finds herself tied to a bed with Milena standing over her. Desperate and terrified, Catherine begs to know where Emma is. Milena briefly allows her to see her daughter before Emma is taken away again, making it painfully clear that she's using her as leverage. Catherine offers Milena everything she owns if she'll just let Emma go, but Milena isn't interested. Instead, she revealed pieces of her own past, explaining that she was trafficked at a young age. Rather than escaping the world, she eventually became part of it, rising through the ranks until she built a criminal enterprise of her own. The revelation doesn't excuse her action, but it helps explain how ruthless she become. Milena repeatedly demands that Catherine reveals everything she is told to the authorities. Each time Catherine refuses, Milena orders her men to continue to abuse and intimidate Emma off screen, using the threat of further harm to try to break Emma's resolve. Partway through the interrogation, Milena receives a phone call informing her that buyers have arrived. Before leaving, she instructs one of her associates, Mike, to keep Catherine alive because there are buyers interested in trafficking her organs. Once Milena is gone, Mike attempts to exploit Catherine, believing she has no way to fight back. But Catherine pretends to cooperate just as long enough to catch him off guard. She managed to seize his gun, turn the tables on him, and forces him at gunpoint to take her to Emma before it's too late. Mike reluctantly leaves Catherine to where Emma is being held, only for them to discover that Milena has already moved her. Moments later, Catherine catches up to Milena, leading to one final standoff. Catherine aims the gun at Milena, while Milena responds by holding Emma at gunpoint. Milena begins to taunt Catherine, describing the horrific future she has planned for Emma as one of her victims. Before she can carry out her threats, the typical Lifetime movie twist, Emma managed to get a hold of the gun and shoots Milena, ending her reign over the trafficking operation. Almost immediately after, the law enforcement storms the location and a shootout breaks out between the officers and remaining traffickers. And honestly, this scene was not needed. Despite all the gunfire flying around, hardly anyone seems to get hit, which takes a bit of tension out of the scene. But in the end, the trafficking ring is dismantled, kidnapped girls are rescued, and Milena's surviving associates are taken into custody. While the film doesn't spend much time on the aftermath, we can only hope the survivors receive the support and counseling they need after everything they endured. As for the traffickers, let's just say the movie leaves you hoping they spend the rest of their lives behind bars. To the person who recommended I cover this movie, I just want you to know that I am not the happiest camper right now. Most of the movies I cover on this channel are biopics, comedies, or the occasional drama. I don't usually tackle films centered around a disturbing subject. As for the movie itself, I mainly want to talk about Milena, and I'll try my best not to crash out here because the word vile doesn't even begin to describe her. The fact she treats young girls as nothing more than property, all in the name of making money, is just absolutely sickening. The movie explains her backstory and how she became involved in trafficking, but it never excuses the choices she makes. If anything, it makes her even more unsettling because she knowingly continues the cycle of abuse. Now, judging this strictly as a movie, it's still pretty much a Lifetime film. That means the dialogue can be stiff, the acting can be hit or miss, and if you've seen enough Lifetime thrillers, it's pretty predictable. That being said, I do appreciate that the movie shines a light on tactics traffickers use to manipulate and exploit vulnerable teenagers. The Romeo trap is a real grooming method, and if this film encouraged even one person to recognize those warning signs, then it serves a purpose beyond just entertainment. Overall, this isn't a movie I recommend to everyone. It's an uncomfortable watch from beginning to end, and that's largely by design. So if you decide to check this out, just know what you're getting yourself into and watch with caution. And that concludes the Stolen from Suburbia movie recap. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Please hype, like, comment, and subscribe, as majority of you watching this video aren't subscribed. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Human trafficking is a real crime that affects real people. If you or someone you know may be experiencing human trafficking or exploitation, contact the National Human Trafficking Hotline by calling this number or visit the following website, link in the description.